Coach, how's the defense coming together?
I think we're getting better every single day. I think little steps, but I think we're playing faster. I think our guys are communicating a lot better, and I think we're playing together as a unit. And every day, we're just growing closer together, and you can see guys really trusting each other, and playing fast with one another every day.
Corey, I asked ZP this yesterday, but I know you guys preach violence and whatnot with your defense. In a training camp setting, just how much are you able to go all out? Just what's the balance of wanting to have that violence now versus obviously you're going against your own guys, and just how do they balance that from now until the season starts?
Yeah, we just got to practice smart, and everything we do, whether it's just helmets, it's shells, it's full pads, everything's full speed, and it really allows you. I almost like it better when it's just helmets because it teaches you to play with technique. It tells you to play with hands, it tells you how to play with feet, just your technique, your fundamentals, and how to get better at that. It takes the head out of it, takes launching and lunging on things, and our guys understand, once we put the pads on, when I'm squared up, I'm thawed. I'm playing full speed, just nothing goes to the ground. Anytime I'm coming in at an angle, I'm going to be smart, I'm going to protect the team. It's going to be a wrap and roll, so I'm going to stealth punch, I'm going to violent tag the hip. But our guys, everything at the line of scrimmage, everything we're doing is full speed, we just don't go to the ground. And our guys are getting better at understanding that tempo of how to play and how to compete at that level every single day.
Last year you had some of the best edge setters in the country at their position groups with Payne, Mesler, and Scott. How's this new group doing it in that phase of the defense?
Yeah, I think our coaches have done a really good job with developing our players. And I think our guys, having the guys that we had last year just being leaders and, being role models of showing by example, our guys get to see that every day. And we played a lot of players. So we have guys that have really good experience, and then we have guys that are continuing to learn and get better. And, it's the fundamentals, the technique that they're buying into. And, even like Key early in the year, he did a better job learning how to set the edges and how to grow as a player as the season went on. And those guys did through their career, and they became very good players, and I'm excited about the group that we have. Our guys are trusting the technique, they're playing with fundamental, they're learning where their fit is and where they can take shots and when they have to set edges and when, where they have to be really physical at the point of attack. And, those are the things that we address as a coaching staff every day, and our guys are getting better at it every single day.
How's David Wilson doing?
He's been really good, buying in, running to the football, playing physical, playing with the technique that we coach, getting better every single day, and we're really excited to watch him this year.
Omar Thornton, just how does his skill set fit into your scheme, and just what have you learned about him since he got here in the spring?
Yeah, he loves football. That's the number one thing. Like he reminds me of all the guys we've had. He fits perfect in what we do. He loves football. He loves coming out here. Every day is an opportunity to go win a one-on-one. Every day is an opportunity to get better, and he just plays fast. And that's where, you never know what, last year, next year, whatever we are. Every year we got to evolve for how to get the best 11 on the field, and he's a guy that competes every single day. He continues to push us and get us better every single day.
Kind of piggybacking on that question about guys from last year being leaders and then guys taking over this year, are you noticing a significant difference where you are this year compared to last year, another year in the system, plus those guys who have learned from those leaders who are now here?
Yeah, every team is different. Every set of leaders is different. We got a different group of leaders right now, and we're still developing, exactly who some of the leaders are on our side of the football, and everyone's a little bit different. Some guys are just, go out and play as hard as they possibly can and lead by example, and, there's other guys that are that speak up a little bit more, but, we're developing that right now through camp, and that's where, as a coaching staff, we're pushing our guys to handle some adversity, getting on some guys in some certain situations so they learn, A, to play one play at a time. Every play's got a life and a history of its own, and then B, to how do we respond to it? How do we grow together? And how do we pick each other up? And how do you support those 11 guys on the field when we're on the road in a hostile environment? And our guys are getting better and better at picking each other up, leaning on each other, and coming together and growing together as a team. And we're still in camp right now. We're still in that process, and guys are still filling those roles and filling in.
Coach, you talked about fit. Movement in the game, obviously, big losses, but you already have the talent there to step up. How much of an adjustment is it to putting guys like Marquise and Damon in positions to succeed with their skill sets, or is it the other way around where their skills adjust to the system to find that success?
Yeah, to me, that's why we're coaches. We got to figure out how to get the best players on the field and how to let them play fast. And that's where we're always evolving, and we're never going to be the same team. We're always going to adjust. We're always going to be a little bit different. We'll have different fronts. We'll have different techniques. We'll have different calls that maybe fit this year better, or whoever the 11 guys are on the field. And that's where, as the season goes on and guys get banged up or as different things happen in the season, we always got to be able to adjust. And that's one of the things that's awesome in camp is going against our offense every day and how talented they are. You got to make those adjustments. Okay, who's in the game right now, what group do we have in, who's up front, who's in certain spots. And, it's let's get our guys and put them in the best position to have success out on the football field. And that's what we're always working through that every single day. And, I'm excited about the group of guys that we have. We got guys that love football. We got guys that come in and compete every single day, and they're getting better at their craft and they're getting better at their techniques and fundamentals. And, I think we played faster today than we did yesterday. And the goal ultimately is tomorrow we got to be even better than that. Just go 1-0 every day.
But you bringing back a handful of guys. Could you share with us something that you set out to improve from last year's defense to this year?
Yeah, I think, you always want to get better, like our urgency, tempo, what we did in different situations last year, our urgency in everything that we do, how we compete, our communication. That was a major thing in the offseason was how well do we communicate? How well do we anticipate what's going to happen with a shift, with a motion, with with whatever the offense is doing us, with the looks that they're trying to show us. And, those are the things that all offseason, in spring football, Coach Dawson did a great job of giving us some of those looks. Different workouts, we had all that stuff, and our guys have gotten better talking and learning how to work together. And then over-communicate, getting the whole defense, all 11 guys, in the same check. Because I tell them all the time, listen, it doesn't matter. As long as the 11 guys on the field are all playing the right call and the same call, we're in a good spot. It's just when we have different things and we're not communicating. So our guys have done a really good job of communicating. Our guys have done a really good job of growing together and then just continuing to understand the fundamentals and the techniques, that we teach every single day in block destruction and tackling and how we leverage the football and how we play man or how we play zone and how detailed we are with our eyes and how we, our break foot, dry foot and how we leverage the ball. And our guys, those, when you look at it, really from even a year ago when you turn the tape on, I think that those are areas that we're playing better football right now. And we only got to continue to get better there.
So a few more questions, Coach.
Corey, how's the linebacker group looking beyond Mo and Chase?
Yeah, I'm excited about the group. I think just, in the offseason, what the strength and conditioning staff did, what the nutritional staff did, what sports science did with our guys. I think we're a bigger, faster group. I think we can do a lot of different things, whether it's in coverage or it's blitzing or fitting the runs at a really high level. We have guys that, have different skill sets, and I'm excited to play different guys. We're going to throw guys out in different groups and different waves as we go through the season. But I feel like right now, and we're not at that point in camp yet where it's settled. But I think guys are continuing to compete every single day. Guys are continuing to get better every single day, and I feel really comfortable throwing a good group of those guys out on the field right now against an opponent.
Talking to your corners at Media Day, they said that improving the takeaway factor was something that they wanted to improve on this season. I'm curious how that's shown up so far in camp.
Yeah, every day, the number one thing that we talk about is do we run to the ball? And we call it a LOS. Is we post them on the wall, what plays they are, and how well we ran to the ball. And then takeaways. How many strip attempts do we have? How do we affect the ball? Whether you're the blitzer, you're the guy near the quarterback, you're a pass rusher, you're the guy coming in with a punch on the football in your swarm or your pursuit angles, and then are we taking the ball away anytime we get our hands on it? And that is posted every day. That is part of our tape every single day. How many opportunities do we have? What are we creating? Is the ball coming out? We want it almost to be annoying for the offense. Until that play is all the way back on that side of the football, we're punching the football out. And our guys are continuing to get better at that, every single day. Like yesterday, Dylan Day, he's a guy from last year all the way through. He's really good at it, Lightfoot. But there's constant guys. Wiley got a couple yesterday. There's constantly guys going after the football. And, to us, that turnover margin is where you win and lose the game. That creates extra positions. That changes the field position. We talked to our guys last year. We won that turnover battle. We were 13-0. And that's, something that we got to continue to grow on. We got to continue to build on, is we got to be obsessed with going after the football.
Where's Bobby Pruitt in his process? Is it with the DBs or the linebackers?
Everywhere. We look at it as positionless. There's situations where he can be playing a safety. There's situations where he can be playing a Sam linebacker or a nickel. He's a guy that can run with two and can cover. He's one of the faster players on the team. But he's also a guy that can play Mike and Will right now. Yesterday we lined him up at some D-end. We're doing everything. He's got to learn how to rush a quarterback. He's got to learn how to cover. But when we look at it as positionless players, because you got to learn the tools to play man. You got to learn the tools to play zone. You got to learn the tools to blitz or line up on the edge and get after the quarterback. He's a guy that has really bought in. In the last year, he's put on over 20 pounds. He's playing faster. He's running better. You can see him now using his hands and striking. His block destruction's much better. And then he's in this building all the time. His communication, his understanding of what's going on. He could be on the sideline calling. There's a lot of times he's almost signaling what's going to be the call because he kind of knows situational football. He's grown so much in those areas. And that's where it's helped him so much going from a linebacker to a DB to a nickel back to a DB, and right now he hops around rooms a little bit. He's a guy that I'm really excited about what he's going to do this year.